Customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DeJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution podcast with John DeJulius. This week, John talks with best-selling author Shep Hyken. Shep and John discuss the state of customer service today, how it has changed since the pandemic, and where it's headed. In this episode, you'll learn why customer experience is more critical than ever in your business. They'll also discuss customer experience statistics from the 2023 ACA study, including how 76% of customers would be willing to go out of their way to go to a company that has better customer service, how 47% of customers in 2023 would pay more if they knew they would receive great service, how 69% of customers in 2023 say a convenient customer service experience alone will make them come back to a brand or company, how 82% of customers are likely to recommend a brand or company to friends and family if it provides a convenient customer service experience, and how 82% of customers in 2023 say great customer service increases their trust in a company when they make a purchase. You'll also hear what Shep will be sharing at this year's Customer Service Revolution Conference. Now here's your host, John DeJulius.
Welcome, revolutionaries, to another episode of the Customer Service Revolution podcast. I am John DeJulius, Chief Revolution Officer of the DeJulius Group, and I'm so excited to welcome back. I don't know how many times he's been on this, but he keeps on coming out with more and more stuff. So I got to have him back. You want to hear him. Mr. Shep Hyken, who's a customer service, customer experience expert, researcher, New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling author. He has written 8 books, including his latest book, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. Welcome, Shepard.
Hey, it is so good to be back. It's so good I get to see you because even though record this for audio, I get to see on video. And
I don't think
my favorite time is when I come in person.
That's a positive, but I mean, if you think it's a positive.
I think it's positive. My favorite is when I get to show up in Cleveland in person and you and I hang out, even if it's just for a cup of coffee. Yeah,
that is my favorite. I tell people all the time, like, when people getting into the business, speaking business on any topic, they want to meet with me or talk. And of course, and spend time, and they're like, thank you so much. I can't believe I said, listen, when I started out, I'm really speaking about Shep, I mean, how many years ago was it, Shep? 20 plus? I don't know, but I was starting off and I reached out to you and you couldn't have been more generous. And you didn't know me and you didn't know if I was, just a talker and I wasn't going to do any of this. And oh my God, you told me everything. You told me what not to do that you might have done that derailed you. You obviously told me what to do. You introduced me to book agents, publishers, speakers, your family, which some
ex-girlfriend,
are some
ex-girlfriend.
Yeah. And I always tell people that's why I do it, because you helped me get to where I am a lot quicker than I would have, or maybe never would have. So, and I also finish with this. I go, today if he comes to Cleveland, he's at my house. If I go to St. Louis, I'm at his house. But
my favorite line as of recent, my favorite DeJulius line is when somebody asks you, what would you like Shep to do for you next? And the answer?
Said, retire.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
I'm setting the bar for everybody else with the content we create and the constant work. By the way, I love it. This is not work. It's just, I love doing what I do. I've been doing it now this year. Are you ready for this? 40 years.
Oh
40.
God.
I know I don't look it, but that's probably because I love what I do so much. I don't come to work like dreading work ever. I've already knocked out an article today So I write, 2 to 3 articles every single week, if not more, because some clients say.
You write for Forbes, you have your own blog, and all of which I'm going to have in the show notes. Shep Hyken's website, his latest book. Yeah, we have a bunch of stuff. What we're going to talk about, the amazement research, which would I'll have
Achieving Customer Amazement, ACA, State of Customer Service and Experience.
Yes, which is really cool. So let's get into it, Shep. After that love fest, which I truly mean, and I appreciate everything you do.
Ditto.
And my saying is, if you take one thing from someone, it's plagiarism. If you take 10 or more, it's research. And I've researched you very well over the years. So I listen, when we started, I thought this guy had 10 years left. So I thought, who's going to ever hear it? And you're still doing it. So it's like really made my material hard to, own. So, all right, Shep, listen, the last 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years, as you know, the American Customer Satisfaction Index that measures all industries has said, has reported that customer satisfaction is at over a 2-decade low. Why?
Yes.
Why is that, Shep? Why is it so bad?
And by the way, the most recent report this quarter, it's a minor reversal of the trend. It's showing up a little bit.
Picking up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got theories on what's happening, but why does it get low? And
you have answers. I want answers, Shep.
Okay, I'll give you some answers.
The truth. I can't handle the truth.
The truth as I see it.
Wait, who am I?
Who am you're Jack Nicholson. You can't handle the truth. A Few Good Men.
Right.
Okay,
there you go. Sorry.
Tom Cruise. Who else?
Yes. You're Tom Cruise. I'm Jack Nicholson.
Okay. You can't handle the truth. Okay. Got you. That was a great movie. Anyway, I digress. So here's what I think's happened. And I say this every year. The top prediction I have year after year after year for probably more than 10 years has been that the customer continues to get smarter. And what I mean by that is they know what good service is. Companies advertise, we've got great service. Some of them even win awards, JD Power Awards. They win, they're recognized just as great brands, Apple, Amazon. That's just a couple of the A's. American Express. You can continue on down the line and look at, you go all the way to Z, Zappos, which is owned by Amazon. But you've got Nordstrom, Lexus, Chick-fil-A, and you write a lot about Chick-fil-A. How about Costco? All of these brands have emerged as some of the top brands. And what happens is customers say, and by the way, it doesn't matter if it's B2C or even B2B. They say, why can't whoever I'm doing business with
be as good as... Let's just clarify, B2B is business to business and B2C is business to consumer, which as you, Shep, I don't know about you, but man, if I give a B2C, business to consumer, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A example, I will have people in the audience say that doesn't apply to us because we're B2B. Yeah. And it drives me crazy. Yeah. It's people to people, right?
It's people to people, right.
Yeah.
And the comparison is this. Everybody is a consumer, regardless of what they do for a living. You may be the person buying for your manufacturing business from another manufacturer, and you're going to compare that experience to Starbucks, Chick-fil-A. It's like, why can't they get, or anybody, my car dealership responds quickly. Why can't they respond as quick as my car dealership does? That's just a car dealership,
Right.
So this is what happens is consumers. And again, regular purchasing agents from B2B experiences, business to business, they are saying, hey, this is what I want because this is what I know I can get from others. Why can't you be that good? The bar is higher and it's harder to hit that bar. So many companies have improved. They just haven't improved. That gap between where they are and where the companies are being compared to it's still pretty wide. So that's why I think some people rate businesses lower. Number two, I think there's a patience level, especially in the last few years.
Hospital patients?
Hospital patients and mentally, the ability to patience. What's the definition of patience? Where you can...
I don't know. I wish you'd hurry up, though.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the antithesis of patience. Having the mental capacity to just like, hey, relax for a moment, chill. Let's,
no way. Not with, I got places to be. Like you said, you haven't called me back. 10 years ago, before Zappos and Google, right? Call me back in a day or two was expected. Now, it's 2 hours and you haven't given me an answer. And I'm going to move on to the next person in Google who does what you do to see if they can come out and fix my X or whatever.
Well, John, you have a great example that I have used in your spa world where somebody called you after hours. Okay, 6, 7 o'clock at night, maybe later, they called you and said, hey, I'm having a wedding and I want all my bridesmaids to have a spa day a few months from now. And your person called back the very next morning at 9 a.m., the moment business opened, and they were too late. This person had already booked their spa day with a competitor, which means, the patience level is so low. What I'm looking for as we're talking, I'm thumbing through, I have some stats and facts on communication and how long people are willing to wait.
Is that in your survey?
That is in our
hold on, because I want to transition to the survey, because this thing is gold. I don't know if it's just gold for geeks like us. I mean, this stuff, like I don't know if I could say it, but I can't say it. I don't know. I got lathered up looking at this stuff. This excites me, and I think every leader should just absorb everything in there. But before we get in there, some of the other things I think that I tell people, my new opening line, Shep, when I walk out, my icebreaker is, hey, listen, everyone wants to know, are we in a recession? Are we headed for a recession? Is a recession inevitable? And I say, I'm here to tell you, recession started 2 years ago, a customer service recession, right? And the reason, the great resignation, right? Quiet quitting. Millennials canceled the word hustle. I don't know how, a word can get canceled, but, and inflation, supply chain issues, staff shortages, we're charging more and we're getting less. And then you have shrinkflation. Shrinkflation is, do you like Doritos, Shep?
Yeah.
They're getting
smaller packages.
You're getting 6 less Doritos in your bag, but you're paying the same price.
But I'm losing weight.
Losing weight, yeah. That's what they should sell. And then you have greedflation, which is, and you talked about tipflation in one of your blogs, which was awesome. I can't believe the people who are, I have to scroll, what kind of tip do you want to give? What kind of tip for what? I mean, I'm at the convenience store and I'm buying a bag of whatever, and you want to know if I want a tip here, but and greedflation is as you know is how the CEOs have just made so much more money in the past 25 years compared to the frontline worker. So I believe all those things have to do with the customer service recession.
Yeah. But let's take a look at, there are companies that still, for whatever reason, keep knocking it out of the park, right?
Yeah.
Why do they do that? How do they do that? All we need to do is emulate what they do. And this is, by the way, you mentioned my latest book, I'll Be Back, How to Get Customers to Come Back Again and Again. The final chapter has a 6-step process, which maybe I'll do this for our upcoming Customer Service Revolution conference. But
So Shep is referring to, Shep is speaking at the 2023 Customer Service Revolution Conference, October 11th and 12th in Cleveland. And Shep is the first speaker ever to be a three-peat, even though it's been a while. He spoke in 2009. He spoke in 2010. And we are having him back because he's one of the highest rated speakers of all time. So we're going to end this podcast with what you can expect to hear from Shep.
Okay, so I won't tell him this then.
Don't tell him.
I won't tell him. I'm a holdout.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'll tell you what they'll get. Let's get into
this awesome.
Real quick. It is the 6-step process to getting your customers to say, I'll be back.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
I love one of your quotes, and I think I included in our sizzle reel of all the speakers speaking, is it's not about lifetime value. It's about
next time.
Next time.
Every time.
Every time. Yeah.
So what are you doing right now at this moment? I call this the loyalty question. People confuse loyalty with a lifetime. And really it's not, because, that's just a daunting thing. I need to make this person come back for the rest of their life. No, just give them to come back next time. Isn't that easier to think about it that way?
Yeah.
You break it down into bite-sized chunks, the next time, every time. So when you're in that moment, there could be no issues. It could just be the experience. Am I creating the experience that's going to get this person to come back to me instead of a competitor? When we're in a contentious moment, is the way I'm managing that problem, that confrontation, going to get this customer to come back? It's one thing to give in to the customer, but it's another one to let the customer feel like things were taken care of the right way. And as far as an argument goes, you never win. You're not trying to beat the customer. You're trying to get the customer to come back. So you don't win the argument, you win the customer.
Right. Love that. I love that. So, all right, Shep, tell us about, you now do your own research, or you have it done, in-house. Does it come out once a year?
Comes out once a year, and then we have little reports throughout the year because you can't put everything in there.
This is a 37-page. I actually had, Shep, to replace my printer cartridge. Literally, you can see here because you have so much. But it's phenomenal. And this I will use as nuggets in my presentation and blogs, just stats, CX stats. I mean, there's so much, and there's a link to it, but it is called the...
Well, I refer to it as the ACA, the Achieving Customer Amazement Study, which is really the state of customer service and experience. And you get it at hyken.com/research, which will be in the show notes. And it's free. Anybody can get it, no charge at all. I want everybody to have it, use it, and find, what it'll help you do? It helps you understand the mindset of most customers. Even if you're in the business-to-business space, you need to understand this because there's basic expectations in there. And this helps you understand how people think. And you wonder why they might be upset. There's always this gap between us thinking we give great service and what really is happening. Some companies have closed that gap, but oftentimes there's still people that feel it's not meeting their expectation. So we want to understand what these stats and facts are. And if we decide we want to invest more money into customer service and experience, this will help make the case for you.
And it's something funny. We were just talking about, Shep. I have a presentation later today for advisors. And as I was getting prepped, they were talking about, these advisors will, financial advisors, they're going to come in thinking there's nothing that they can be taught. And, I really think in a lot of industries, like financial advisor, like legal, like medical, anything with high intellectual, background expertise, tell me if you agree with this, they really don't know what great CX is. And so like in the advisor, not all advisors, obviously, but you call me up, I'm your advisor. You say, John, I'm thinking about buying Apple. I need to cash in my 529 for my daughter schooling, whatever. I say, I got that shop, transit. And they think that's world class. But really speaking in your language, being a hockey goalie, just reacting to, things coming at you isn't world class. You can get any advisor that will respond, hopefully, and say, I'll make that transaction happen. I'll buy those shares. I'll transfer, and that's where they're convinced that they're crushing it. And I know you do, and people like me and you have to change the paradigm of what great customer experience is. It's being proactive and saying, Shep, isn't your daughter around a senior now? Don't we have to look at? Go ahead.
Right. Know your customer, know your client. That's part of that. So this is interesting. I do a lot of work in that space as well. And when I'm in front of financial advisors, I'll say, how many of you do financial plans, like long-term financial plans for your clients, planning it out? Every hand goes up. Okay. You know what my next question is? Leave your hand up if you've done one for every client. And almost all the hands go down now. So they know what they're supposed to do and they know it works, but they haven't done it for every client. And by the way, if you've missed, you may have 100 clients. If you've only done it for 98 clients, you cannot keep your hand up because those 2 clients are not getting full advantage of what you can offer. Number one. Number two, those 2 clients are going to go find somebody that will give them that analysis and get to know them so well that isn't your daughter a senior. I sit down with my financial advisor and I look at the numbers, and every year we have a plan. We meet each quarter, but once a year we do the big review. Like right. The quarterly review can be done over a Zoom call or a Microsoft Teams call or whatever. But the big one's done in person. And when we sit down, he says, I've adjusted for the fact that your daughter will be graduating She just graduated law school,
Right.
and you won't have to pay that tuition next year. And I'm thinking, wow, you've adjusted what I spend annually. You know that much about me.
Right.
And let's use that just as a metaphor, that kind of information about our customer that comes back again and again, that we would recognize as a repeat, maybe even a loyal customer. Are we giving them the service they deserve based on the information we could know about them?
Right.
So, yep.
Right. So I love this information. Give us a high level overview, and then we could dig down. Customer service is more important this year than last year. What is that?
Every year.
Of course. But what are you finding? It's obviously, I'm assuming it's more important to the companies, that more companies are investing in it, more companies are making it when it's leading initiatives. What are you coming up? What's that look like in your report?
I did is over the years, I've gotten smart. Now I ask the question the exact same way year after year, so I can get a true, if I change one word, it could change the results. And I don't want to do that. So here's an example.
The witness.
Exactly. I don't want to lead the witness, and I want to make it consistent. So how important are each of the following customer service experience for you in today's world? That's the question. And then I list your top 5 and put them in importance. And this one, number 1 this year was convenience. 91% said a convenient experience is more important than it was. Well, it just, and it's more important to you today. And by the way, last year it was only 87%. The year before that, 84%. So you can see the trend. Convenience and an easy experience is more important than it was even 3 years ago. You've got to acknowledge that. Employees that are helpful and knowledgeable about what their products and services are. 90% said that was important. Easy to reach the right person. You've got to put your phone number on your website. On every freaking, I think you and I might have talked about this.
Bottom.
Yeah, it's like there's no reason for it not to be.
However, Shep, as you know, we can both list off a half a dozen to a dozen companies that have shut down their customer service.
Is that ridiculous? Yeah.
Amazon, right? They bought customer with the K. They just let them go, and you cannot reach Amazon. You can only do it digitally.
Well, you've never been able to reach Amazon.
No, I'm sorry. Not Amazon. I apologize. Meta, Facebook. They bought customer, that company, customer with a K.
Customer with a K, yep.
And they let him go now, and they got rid of any way to get a hold of them.
But Amazon did something brilliant. So Jeff Bezos back in the day, and by the way, I interviewed the first VP of customer service ever that he hired. It's in my podcast. I've drawn a blank on his name, but this is what he said. I was in the room when Bezos said, "Why do we need a customer service department? We should be that good that we don't need one."
Right.
And then they realized that most of the problems they have came from when they turned over the product out of the warehouse to whatever the major carrier, FedEx, U.S. Post Office, not pointing fingers at any of them.
But a lot of their stuff they don't even fulfill. It's a third party.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And if they lost the shipment, guess what? Customer doesn't call one of those companies. They call Amazon and say, "Where is my stuff?" And so, but there's an example. And what was beautiful about that is when he recognized that, he goes, "Well, let's create a system. The system is we want you to do as much digitally as possible," because Amazon is a digital company. However, as you go through, it says at any time, do you want to talk to an agent?
They'll call you.
You put your phone number in, and I swear you hit enter, and the phone is already
ringing. Now, it's not a human being, but they want to make sure. And then within 30 to 60 seconds, a human being gets out. It blows my mind, Shep.
Yeah, so I consider that, okay.
But I'm lonely. I do that. I speak to an Amazon representative.
Yeah, that just makes my day. So if I'm feeling down, I go on Amazon, pretend I have a problem, and I get somebody nice to call me.
Join John and the rest of the DeJulius Group team at the Customer Service Revolution Conference, happening in Cleveland this October. Tickets available now at customerservicerevolution.com.
So, Shep, you also hit on you got so much great stuff, but my favorite thing that you've watered down the language of making price irrelevant. You do talk about that. I want to get into it, but let me just make sure I clarify with you what making price irrelevant isn't, Doesn't mean you could double your prices, fees, rates, and not lose existing or potential customers. What making price irrelevant is based on the experience your brand consistently delivers.
Mm-hmm.
Your customers have no idea what your competition charges, right? So because they're not shopping you. They're not, hey, Shep charges $5 more. I could find it on the internet or down the street or across the street for $5. They don't even care.
They
right?
don't care.
Because
they know it's a fair price.
The cheaper you go, the more it costs you, right? So let's talk about how important the experience is to price in your study.
Right. So I will give you the exact stat. 47, almost half of your customers this year will pay more if they knew they would receive great service. Hence, it makes price, I call it less relevant.
Yes.
I believe it is always, price is relevant at a certain point. We even in the early years of doing the survey, we used to ask how much more you'd be willing to pay for an airline ticket, for a car, et cetera, et cetera. And it was tough to determine, nobody's going to pay 10% more for a car that's $50,000, $60,000. They're going to be, maybe they will. I think it was actually higher than
for iPhones, Shep, and that's crazy what we pay for an iPhone, but it owns the market.
Yeah, but there's a quality product. And by the way, the Android users are going to debate this with us, but I'm going to take not the position of it's better than an Android or, any of the other phones. I'm going to say that Apple's done a really good job of grabbing a customer and getting them to stay.
In the ecosystem, now you got the earbuds, you got the watch, You got the computer, but also, like you said, restate that the answer again of 47%.
47% would pay more if they would receive great service. By the way, I asked that question twice in the survey, worded ever so slightly different. And I wanted to see, and I put it early in the survey and later in the survey. So even though the survey only had 20 some odd questions, within each of those questions, there might have been what's most, like we talked about, what's most important to you in today's service experience. And we listed 10 different things, trying to find out what's what rises to the top. So we're really getting 10 answers out of one question. So I buried these two questions in the middle of other questions and see if they would, and they were 1% difference, which is basically negligible.
But to your point of if you knew you were going to get a better experience, well, that's when a brand like Apple, like Nordstrom's, like all the ones we've mentioned, because of their history. And the other thing that makes them great is there's zero risk. And zero risk doesn't mean they don't ever screw up. They screw up less than their competitors, but if they screw up, they will make it right. And you don't have to have saved the receipt. You don't have to feel like we have to hire your daughter, the newest person in the legal thing, to argue that, why you should get a refund.
The legal system, that's called.
The legal system, yes. I can't believe there's a Hyken that's a lawyer out there.
Neither can I. She just graduated. I'm very excited. She's going off the payroll real soon.
Right. But again, you may be her number one client.
Well, I'm thinking free legal services for the rest of my life. But no, here's something really interesting.
Age matter. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, age does matter. We break this down, and it's real important. I did what's called a Gen Pop study, which means I weighted all of the responses to what the U.S. Census is based on age, ethnicity, gender. So I don't have 90% men, 10% women. I have what's really based on the U.S. Census. Same thing with millennials, Gen Z, boomers, and of course, the people that are forgotten, Gen X. They're really not forgotten. What I wanted to throw out as far as price goes, more important than customer service, we talked about it a moment ago, was a frictionless or convenient experience makes price even more less relevant. If am I allowed to use two negatives like that?
Right.
More or less, or contradictory statements. So essentially almost 5%, 6% difference between give me a convenient experience. And some say the convenient experience is even more important than good service overall, like a pleasant, friendly. I'd rather it be efficient. So in some businesses, that's really important. I'll give you an example. I jokingly say, by the way, I love my airline. I'm not going to tell you the name of the airline, but the initials are AA.
Yes.
For American Airlines. I do love them. And I'm very lucky. They take good care of me. But of course, they're my airline of choice. So I spend a lot of money with them and they recognize that, which is really, really important. Where am I going with this? But I used to say when airlines, they've started to come back a little bit, I think, as far as service quality goes. When they were really struggling, and the number one reason people stop flying an airline, and you can look at some of the airlines that have gone out of business, it's because they don't do what they say they're going to do, which is show up on time. That's it. So more cancellations and higher delays than any other airline puts you at risk for losing business. When it happens enough times, the predictability is, I don't know what I'm going to get. However, if you treat me like dirt, but get me there on time, I'll fly your airline. As long as it's consistently getting me there on time. The experience becomes less important than what is expected from the promise, which is, I will get you there. That's important.
Well, and that's where you talk about consistency. And what I talk about is the enemy of great customer experience is inconsistency.
Yeah.
And what I refer to it is employee roulette, right? When the level of your experience is dependent on who you deal with. And so if you say, hey, John, I went to your salon, the Lord knows I don't know why you'd go to my salon, but if you did, and you said, oh, yeah, I'd say, who'd you have? And you said, Sandy. I'm like, oh, I know it. If you say, Ginger, I might hold my breath, right? Oh, God, depending on, was she in a fight with her boyfriend last night? Whatever. But that's employee roulette, which you can't have a world-class customer experience that even has that.
Yeah, the key there is to create, you call that consistency. Two things. Number one, the word always in front of something positive from a customer. This is what you want them to say. They're always so helpful. They always get back to me quickly. They're always friendly. When you have always in front of something positive, even when there's a problem, I know they can always take care of me, or they will always take care of me. Now you're operating in what I call the zone of amazement. Okay, because that's what amazing companies are. They're not over the top. They're just consistently delivering on the expectation the customer has. That, by the way, is the number one thing I'm going to talk about of my top 10 list that I deliver at your conference.
You got top 10?
Maybe it might be. It depends on how much time you give me. It might be 7.
Well,
but
the
number one thing
is I'm coming out with a top 11.
Okay, yeah, that's what you would do. That's what you would do. And by the way, the first 10 will be mine anyway. So, but no, that's the number one thing I talk about. That's the premise that sets up everything. So how do we create that consistent experience, and what should that experience look like? And, as we talk about respecting somebody's time or whatever, the word always followed by something positive. So whether it's Ginger or whoever was the other person, or it's John, it doesn't make any difference. I want them to come to work every day thinking this. This is, by the way, what, famous actor Burton, what's his name? Richard Burton.
Yeah.
He was married. This is like way before our time, but I saw a quote that he used to, on the way out on stage, would say, I want to be so good tonight that I cheat the audience that was here last night.
Yes.
Now, if we can get everybody to come to work thinking that exact thing, I want to be so good today that I'm better than yesterday.
100%.
They may or may not be able to do it, but if they're trying to do it, you can't fault them for the effort, right?
I say that in everything, but yeah, if someone came up to me and said, oh, I saw you speak 5 years ago, I'm like, oh my God, I owe you your money back, right? Because I think I am so much better today than I was. And hopefully I'm going to think like that next year about right now is, oh my God, like you think
we're like fine wine. We age and get better with time until a certain point when the cork starts to disintegrate it.
So Shep, there's so much. I mean, we could literally do 10 podcasts on this survey. Tell our listeners when they go to the notes and this is in there and they can download it, what they should do with this material, because there's gold. This is an ATM machine of great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Like I said earlier, I think it'll help you make decisions on the investment you make into service and experience. I think you should analyze what your touch points are, that the customer experiences. Are they convenient? Do you do anything that causes friction? And every company does, but what can we do to mitigate, if not eliminate, the friction? And so I want you to take a look at that. This will help you decide that the investment is worth it. It'll also help you align on what expectations might be. And I'll give you an example. I was going to mention this earlier, how long somebody has to wait for on hold, how long before the email becomes not hearing back at a certain point in time, or a text message or a social media message. At what point are these too long and frustrate the customer to where they say, I've lost confidence. I don't know if I'm going to do business with them again. And by the way, I ought to probably get into this. There was a question that was asked back in the 1980s in a survey that I found by the Technical Assistant Research Program. They determined how many good things had to happen to make up for a bad thing.
Right.
Okay. And, it's all conjecture. I think you're saying to a customer, how many times do they have to do it right to make up for the problem before you trust them implicitly again? And so I'm going to write that one down because that would be a good one for this year.
Yeah. But there is that service recovery paradox that I know you know of, is if you come to buy something from me, whatever I'm selling you, and you get what you were hoping. Yeah, you may or may not, be loyal if someone else offers you something cheaper the next time, or you bump into someone at a cocktail party that does the same thing that I do. But when, we've all had this, someone drops the ball and the way they pick it up is so much more impressive.
That's the key.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'll actually create with the way a complaint or a problem is handled, can, when it's resolved properly, create an even higher level of confidence of that company.
That's what
the problem
that's
never
exactly
happened.
the definition of the service recovery paradox. So I tell everyone on my team, screw up first.
Exactly.
It's a great loyalty builder.
So there's a company, true story. Years and years ago, back before mobile phones that you held in your hands, the mobile phones were bolted to the bottom of your car. The box that had all the electronics. You're aging
yourself, Shep.
I don't know what it's called. It was so long ago, and I wasn't there. Okay, no, I was there actually. And there was this exact stat that came out that said that the confidence becomes higher when there's a problem. So as a test, what's the first thing that people would do when they had their phone installed in their car?
Use it.
They'd use it, right. But typically they would use it before they even left the lot of the place, because I want to see if this works. Oh, yeah. And then it didn't work. But the company was doing it on purpose to show that when you bring it right back, we'll fix it right away. And the experiment didn't work. So the paradox is really an experiment. The experiment.
Right.
So, I mean, there has to be some level of what's the word? Genuineness? Genuinity? No, I don't know.
Authenticity?
Authenticity. Yeah, by the way, that's a new big word the last few years. Authenticity. Your buddy, Jim Gilmore.
Yeah.
Comes out with a whole book a few years back called Authenticity. And authentic companies create trust. Trust creates an emotional connection, which can drive a customer to be loyal to you. You cannot have a loyal customer without the customer trusting you.
100%. I love that. I love that goal. Shep, let's change gears, because this is the third or fourth time you've been on my podcast. And the last time was when we spoke about your new book at the time, I'll Be Back, which is an awesome New York Times bestseller. But you are coming back this October to the Customer Service Revolution Conference, and you're a main stage keynoter. What can our attendees look forward to learning from Shep?
Well, so what I love to do is, first of all, I keep things simple. Even if they may seem complicated, my goal is turn into something simple. I believe this isn't rocket science. I believe that it's common sense that's not always so common. And I'm going to give you a list of strategies and tactics that you will take back to your teams, your company, your board of directors, your leadership, whomever, and you're going to sit down and say, 2 or 3 ideas are worth us considering. And by the way, if in my speech, I give you one idea, if in the whole 2 days of the conference, you walk away with one really great idea that's going to change the way you do business, that is time and money well spent. So my focus would be to give you at least one, if not more. And I do it in the form of a list because it's easy to digest that. And when you go to take notes, it's very simple to bring it back and share it with your team. So that's what you can expect. Plus, I'm going to be entertaining and charming at the same time.
Yeah.
If I don't make you laugh, John, if I don't make the audience laugh, you don't pay me. How's that?
Okay. And so you are a card carrying magician.
And I promise to do something fun.
All right. Good. You'll make Claudia disappear? No, I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to do that.
You know what? I know you don't do a lot of editing. You better hope she doesn't listen to this part of the interview.
She doesn't listen to my podcast or read my blog, so I'm safe. She doesn't listen to me, period. And another thing is, I'm stealing this from Mark Sanborn. He said a few years ago on stage at the Revolution, I hide her Christmas presents in our stove. She doesn't cook. I thought that was the funniest line. That was so funny. But anyway, yeah, now I might really be in trouble. All right, Shep. Well, you've built such an amazing legacy. You've been my mentor. When it's all said and done, personally, professionally, what's most important to you?
When it's all said and done, is that it's done. No, when it's all said and done, what's most important to me has nothing to do with business. I love to think that I did a good job and I made impact with people, but I have no bucket list. So there's nothing I'd like to do outside of more time with my wife and my kids. That's it. If there was nothing else, when it's all said and done, that's it. If tomorrow you made me stop, if you just, if the kids would tolerate me, I'd spend more time with them.
I just saw this video on TikTok. I'm a TikToker, man. I spend a lot of time. I get motivated. I see subject matter experts, comedians I never knew I liked. But I after I watched TikTok for a little bit, I've cried, I've laughed, and I've been inspired. So it all depends on your algorithms, and you're not, clicking on things that will doom scroll. But someone just said this. The story goes, and I forget who, but I liked it. They were at some big mansion, party, yacht, Gulf Stream, someone's house. And, his friend was saying, can you believe this? Can you believe being all these people that flew here on their Gulf Stream, blah, blah. And the gentleman says, I got something that they don't have. And the guy goes, what? Like, what could you possibly have? He goes, enough. And that's kind of what you just said, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I love that. I do. I have enough. Last night I was sitting on, this is a Monday, doing this interview. I was sitting on my patio, nice fire going. And I contradicted myself within a few minutes without thinking about it. I was like, it was 6 p.m., listening to music, having a drink. And I was just saying, man, I wish this night would just take forever. I was such in a happy place. But then something got me thinking about, I'm talking to Shep tomorrow. I got this presentation. I'm like, I can't wait for tomorrow to come. Right? I mean, but that's what we do. And we love our Saturday.
That's because you love it. It's love it. A lot of people are chasing it because they're afraid. And that's a shame. I remember my kids were very young. We were on a ski trip together. And of course, there have been moments I've been with my kids where, I remember the first time my son fell asleep on my chest. That was a moment. My daughter's, same thing. My son, just being the oldest, is the only reason he was first. But I remember those moments going, you know what? This is not a tradable moment. This is it. There's nothing in the world that can substitute for this moment. So I'm on a plane flying home with my kids. And I realized and my wife too, of course, at that moment, anything could happen and nothing mattered because of that moment. And I have said over and over again, as my kids are now spread out, I got 2 in New York, 1 in Nashville, Tennessee, and we get to visit them. My happiest times of the year are when all 5 of us are together. And by the way, John, if you want me to quit, figure out how to make this happen more often.
Right.
The retirement will come when you figure out how to get me with me.
I love that, Shep. And you're a great friend. But I do have to, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Does your daughter, the new lawyer, I'm trying to think, Perry Mason, which no one will know what I'm talking about.
Well, now there's a new Perry Mason. It's on the HBO Max or whatever. It's like the new Perry Mason.
Law. I don't know what law shows are.
Boston Legal. I mean,
right. Anyway, does your
how about NCI? What's the one that's on it's on every night. You can go.
But anyway, your daughter,
the
lawyer, the newly crowned lawyer, does she handle stalking cases? All right. So just answer the question. All right. Shep, I speak on customer service and customer experience. What do you speak on?
Ditto. Customer service, customer experience.
I write books on just those topics.
Yep.
And you do too, right?
That's correct.
Okay. I am still at my age playing my sport I played as a youth. Hardball, not softball, hardball, which is a very tough sport to play at my age. And aren't you still involved?
This morning, I played hockey.
Yeah, which is
hard. And by the way, at my age, yeah, you're right. But there were kids on the ice today that played D1 hockey that are still in their 20s. And I can't say I skate around them. I actually think they give me the senior citizen discount, which is, okay, I'll let the old guy go by me. Yeah.
And finally, I have a certain specific kind of car, and you bought the exact same one.
Okay, now let me just say that's the only thing.
That's a little weird, Shep.
That's the only thing.
You are becoming, very stalkerish.
Okay, I think everything you mentioned up until this point
is true. It's
true, but it was me first, you second, until the car thing came along.
Until the car. You're right.
So I got in your car. I remember you picking me up, and we went to Starbucks to have a cup of coffee. And I go, I love this car. I've been looking for a convertible to drive around, and this is it, I think. And you know what? Sure enough, I went home and started researching.
Literally. But you one up me. You got a bigger, faster engine in it. That's
I did.
Yeah. That's why I'm going to have 11 tips this year at the customer service. You come up with 15. I'm gonna speak after you just so I could try to one up you.
You got it. You know what? Nothing would make me happier than for you, who at one point was the student who surpassed the teacher. And I actually think in many ways you have. You've done the most incredible job. You've created in my opinion, the industry event with your annual conference. You've created a consulting practice that teaches some of the greatest brands about how to deliver the experience that gets people to come back. You've just done an amazing, amazing job. So congratulations.
Literally, there's no one in my life that has meant more to me, and I wouldn't be where I am professionally, and more than all that. And that's incredible amount. I love our friendship.
Yeah,
just out of the blue, you'll call me up, and I'm so excited, and I'll answer, and we'll do this that we just did for the last hour or so. So I can't thank you enough for the impact that you make on so many, the impact that you made on me, that you're coming back out to the Customer Service Revolution Conference to wow and entertain our revolutionaries. Again, thanks for being on the show again.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope to come back, and may this year just be a step toward whatever we do next.
All right.
Can't wait.
Thank you, revolutionaries, for joining us for another episode on the Customer Service Revolution podcast. We will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Customer Service Revolution podcast with John DeJulius. Did you enjoy this episode? Consider leaving us a review. We value your feedback and love to hear how you're using the podcast in your organization. To hear more, be sure to subscribe now on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for being part of the Customer Service Revolution.